Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. I am your founder and host, Craig Spodak, and I've got my guest friend.
Wait, are you really the founder?
No, I'm just kidding. I just want to see if you're paying attention. So
Okay.
it's just Peter and I. Just want to make sure. I just want to make sure you're listening because I don't know. You could get distracted with your air traffic controller headset.
Oh, this is amazing.
You're landing planes. Things are tough at the FAA right now.
This is true. The FAA.
Well, I don't know what your side hustle is now. I know you're not as active in the practice, so you might be picking up some extra.
We're going to go there, huh? Okay.
And no, at any minute, no, we're not going there. At any minute, you'd be like, hold on one second, Craig. Yeah, clear to land, Delta 743. If you're not listening, if you're not watching, Peter has a headset on.
Well, you know what? Here's why, Craig. Here's why I have a headset on is because I'm home right today. And sound, like I tell all people in my realm, when you're doing videos, people will tolerate bad video, but they will not tolerate bad sound. So that goes for your marketing. If you're listening to this and you're doing marketing without a external microphone, there you go, Craig. That is something I had to learn the hard way. I look back at some of my marketing stuff, Craig, and I sound like I'm in the bathtub.
I know,
and it's so cringy.
It's unforgivable.
It's unforgivable.
Video
really
quality is forgivable, but sound is unforgivable.
It really is. So I know I look like Judy, the Time Life operator, and if you know what that reference is, that shows your age. You remember her?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, geez.
You just look like ATC to me.
Okay, well, enough on this. Right?
So anyway, we just got back from our Mastermind retreat in beautiful Park City. 25 or so masterminders were in attendance, and it was really cool. The power of proximity, the power of the network. It was it's great obviously for our attendees, but also for us too, because we are all going through our own specific challenges. And I think one of the biggest reliefs for many of the dentists that are in our network is to just know that Peter and I go through stuff too. So we're still making mistakes and learning, and the challenges never stop. Business ownership is challenging. Certain weeks you feel like you have a sword and a shield, and other weeks you just have a shield.
Some weeks you feel like you have it's just a sword too.
Yeah.
You can go You can go Braveheart some weeks too.
Yeah, just jumping over the crowd.
Yeah, that's right. But it is a reminder, Craig. This is probably what the 15th retreat, maybe, or not 15th, but 12th retreat, maybe, of like the physical retreat. And every time, it floors me, the level of impact. It also floors me, like looking at the growth that people have accomplished in such a short time. You can remember that person who's now telling their stories 3 years out, 3 years ago, versus the story they're telling you this past weekend.
Yeah, look at Eric, our boy Eric. Give a big shout out to Eric Martin in Pennsylvania. Just massive levels of growth, from single doctor practice to securing land and buying a building, and
single doctor Medicaid acquired practice and was struggling with a lot of things, and now he's building a big fee-for-service scenario. So just amazing. And another constant reminder is that people, like you said, Craig, dentists, regardless of where you are in your life cycle of your career, are dealing with a lot of the same issues, right? I think hence the bulletproof pathway. I always say that we just keep in our life, we just kind of keep in our dental life, we just keep going through the pathway over and over again. And kind of fortifying it and building momentum and steam, but a lot of the same issues keep come up and continually come up.
And you don't sunset those issues too, Pete. So it's like, I want to add my first associate, and then it's like I want to add my second, and now I have a bad associate. Well, how do I have this conversation? How do I
get rid of this team member that I know is toxic? And and then hearing other dentists say, "Hey, I was there." In my experience, this is what I did. And it's like, that is so powerful. I love it that it's now become not, hey, Pete and Craig, give the answer, act like the guru, because we're not. It's the collective advice from the room or the community, even, the Bulletproof Mastermind. So anyway, it's really cool. This is going to go down as one of the things we're most proud of in our life is this.
For sure.
Is this aspect, and really cool.
For sure.
But today we're not going to sit here and talk about that.
One last thing, and I'll let you just run, because this all was born out of you and me at Turks and Caicos with the family vacation like 7 years ago. And the first mastermind.
Wait, you got to give the setup. You got to give the whole setup.
Okay, so we're drinking beers that are called Ain't Gonna Lie for Ain't Going to Lie. They're, I guess, Turks and Caicos local beers.
Delicious.
And we were on the beach chairs, and I guess we passed out, and our wife took pictures of us passed out. I'll get that photo, by the way, and then we'll edit it right here. No, it's funny. So anyway, it came out because the first Bulletproof Mastermind was just 2 members. It was Peter and Craig, and we were learning from each other. And we said, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could just go to really nice places and learn more with other people? And that's how it was born. And your dad, Walt, called during the mastermind. I picked it up, to your own you were mortified that I did that, but
no,
I told him
just in the middle of a conversation. We're like, I'll answer it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's Walt.
It's Walt.
So anyway, we were on the slopes, Peter and I, and saying like how cool it is that we get to, be able to help people. And that's the beautiful thing about helping people. You can't help somebody without helping yourself in the process. So just those challenges, the level of transformation, it was really cool. And if you are a person that's struggling and you don't have the right circle, you go to your local dental meeting, and you know what that's like, Peter. Peter, no one wants you to win there. Your local dentist don't want you. They don't mind if you win, just not win more than them.
Exactly. Yeah. You can win, just don't win too much, because then you'll expose me. So it's the crab pot. If you know that analogy, I always say that, right? Crabs, if you put them in a pot, they climb up the wall, but invariably one will pull them back down because they're trying to climb up too. And that is exactly what happens, unfortunately, in local study clubs and your community. There's just too much. So I actually brought that example up of how it was like the dichotomy of that versus what we have, because these people genuinely want you to kick ass, right? And they'll share all their secrets. And here's what I do, because there's
call me because I'll help you with this.
There's no geographic threat, right? So it's it's amazing.
Partnership documents, associate contracts,
everything's
being sent. It's so cool. But I mean, that's the thing. If you're one of those dentists, and I have these dentists come up to me quite frequently saying, I need to get in a new circle. I need a different circle. So if that's you, just remember that there will be another mastermind opening enrollment in August. But we do take these spots very seriously, and there will be a limitation. But if this is the year that you're finally thinking of doing it, I can look you all dead in the eye, and Pete can do the same. Do it. You will change your life. We've done like 150 people have gone through, people that have gone through all the big other masterminds. We have people now that have gone through all those big names. We won't mention the names because they're our friends. And they say, this is 10 times more valuable. It's less money. It's the best deal ever because I've upped my practice by millions of dollars. I've increased my quality of life. Yeah. So if this is the year you want to do it, absolutely do it. Do it. I highly recommend it. And by the way, we had like 70% of last year's class re-enroll or more. Like almost everybody did. So that's another testament to it. Good testament.
All right.
Well, today, that's what we're here to talk
about. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about kind of the thing that the last thing I said, Craig. We kind of have some like kind of closing remarks, I guess, is for lack of better words. And it dawned on me that like the most successful dentists I know, the most successful business operators I know, they just have a bias towards action, right? And I remember me kind of talking, I was like, you don't have to be when you go home to all these things, you don't have to be spot on and 100% precise. You just have to be directionally kind of correct and just kind of getting that biased action. So where I'm going with this is if the bias to action starts in the beginning of the day, and it's always startling to me how many offices do not start out their day with an engaged morning meeting. Most dental offices do what, Craig, in the morning meeting?
Just read off the entire schedule. Like Mrs. Jones is coming in for a pro fee. It's just boring and not dynamic.
Yeah. So the people, your team members, unfortunately, start building up a little resentment because it's, I got out of bed for this kind of thing, right? Or they start coming in late or coming in coming in hot. And like, right, if it starts at 7:15, they're there at 7:49. I mean, I'm 7:14, 49 kind of thing. So it is incumbent upon you, if you are the CEO of your dental office, your dental practice, or you are just the leader manager, to run this in a way that, win the morning, win the day kind of thing. And so we always have 5 tips, and we talk about this at Summit. And you will get this sheet if you come to Summit because it's in the workbook manual. but it's 5 things. We always try to distill things down, Craig. We have the 5 bulletproof KPIs and the 5 things. I think simplicity, right, with a bias towards action, it yields results. When you add in a million metrics and a million KPIs and a million things to do, it causes paralysis by people. So I'm going to share this screen, and we're going to go over this quickly.
By the way, I have a very interesting story that relates to the morning huddle.
Okay.
And it's just very prescient, right? It's very important. Not important, but relevant right now. So for the first time in a really long time, like, at least a year and a half or 2 years, my office just hit the tier 5 top level bonus. Okay. It hasn't happened in a very long time. And unfortunately, this is the same month where one of my highest producing doctors, we separated from that doctor. So left us in a challenging situation, but obviously didn't hurt our top line, which is awesome. But the reason why we hit top tier 5, the highest stretch bonus possible, is because, Pearson's law says that which you measure and report back frequently tends to improve. We all know that. So the mere act of owning a scale and stepping on it, even if your intention is not to lose weight, you'll tend to lose weight over time because you're getting data, and data makes you feel differently. So what happened was we were pre-scheduled to get to tier 2 bonus. So in other words, we were like 9 days from the end of the month or 7 days from the end of the month. And James, our office manager, made the announcement and said, hey, if we just complete what's on the books, we will hit tier 2. But if we do what's on the books plus X dollars per day, we could hit tier 3 and maybe even tier 4. And then 5 days out, he says, hey, by the way, now we're likely to get 3. And if we just do what's on the books and maybe a little bit more, we can get to tier 5. And I wasn't in the office the last couple of days of the month because I was traveling to Park City and all that. And I had some other stuff going on, but I could see the generation of energy and emails and all this millennial speak, like between treatment coordinators, like slay queen and blah, blah, blah. I could just see like stuff I don't even know, but like
lock in,
slay, way to go, treatment acceptance, Riz, whatever they were saying. And I could see that, holy smokes, this office is on fire. So every morning in the morning meeting, it was like, guys, now all we need is extra $400 a day. And we actually hit level 5 bonus, which is awesome. But you said something very interesting. You said, somebody coming in on time or showing up late. Our bonus system is designed for exceptional performance. So guess what happens, Pete, if you are late 3 or 4 times during the month that we had hit bonus? What would you think? If you're an employee,
I would say that you are ineligible for the bonus.
Yeah, you're ineligible for the bonus. Yeah, so it's weighted to those people who worked the most and were on time.
So if the morning meeting starts and you are not present and accounted for, you get
2 grace period. You get 2 unexcused lates per month, but the third one, you are ineligible for your bonus.
Wow. Can I ask how often that happens?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. You should know better than asking questions like that.
Good talk.
But it's also weighted towards days you work. So if the bonus is $500 for that month, but you took 2 weeks off and you normally work 4 weeks, you'd get half the bonus. So it's prorated for the days.
Yeah.
So
if
you work full time.
Do you prorate? So you prorate for like part-timers too?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's by the 20 days.
Pro rata days. I got it.
Pro rata days. Correct.
Got it. All right. So, Craig, how long should a morning meeting take roughly, even in your size? You guys do it a little bit differently because I think you incorporate some more things, but what would you think would be a bare ass minimum?
So my buddy John R. Scott told me that like 3 years ago, I had a 30-minute morning huddle. And he said, could that morning huddle be 20 minutes? I think it was 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I said, yes, it could. He did my cost of employment times a year and said, if you could make it 10 minutes shorter, you'd save in my office like $80,000. And I was like, okay.
Really?
So up until December 31st, our huddle was 8:40 to 8:55:15. Now our huddle as of January 1st starts at 8:50 and ends in 7 minutes. So we have a 7-minute huddle.
Wow.
And in my new build, no one sits for the huddle.
Yeah.
Because it's a standing huddle. Because by the time you sit down and blah, 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 and keep the energy out, you don't sit for it anymore.
That's why I podcast with standing up, if you have ever noticed.
Yeah, I could do that too.
No, we don't want to stare at your gut. Sit down. That looks pretty good, though. You are looking very svelte these days.
You told me that. You told me, you gave me 2 compliments. I'm going to remember these because it's normally like dumbass or dummy. You said snowboarding that I've gotten fast.
Yeah,
I did say that, and there's a video to prove it. You're fast. And you said I look fitter. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And hey, look, when I give a compliment, you know it's heartfelt because I'm not, I don't dote.
Not me.
I don't dote. All right. Without further ado, let's go with the constituents of this meeting. Okay. Because I think that I agree with you, Craig. I think regardless, if you can do it in 10 minutes, like you said, or 7 minutes, then any of us can do it in that amount of time.
50 people to go through. Come on.
Right. I think it could be, let's just say if you're at 30 minutes, it's too long. So a 15-minute meeting, arrive.
10-minute meeting, by the way.
Okay, fine. I agree with you. There should be no sitting. The energy should be up. As a matter of fact, you should be the one that's kind of driving some of that energy a little bit. Like maybe there's some music playing. Remember Trey Miller, who was in the Mastermind for 3 years? He was playing like "Tell Me Something Good," like just to get the team hyped up, right? All right. So what you do not want to do when you have the morning meeting, and people will start hating morning meetings, is read the schedule, like Craig said. So the antidote for that is starting off with these 5 steps. So the first thing you want to do is start off and you want to review your goals. So you want to review the goals for who hit goals as a provider level yesterday, right? And then what you're scheduled for today. Right. So for example, all your hygienists and all your doctors should all have daily provider goals. Right. And so you want to quickly review. Okay. I'm at goal today. I'm under goal today. I hit goal yesterday, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so the person leading that will then dictate who hit goal, who did not goal, who's under scheduled today. And this is to what, Craig? What would you think the emphasis of this would be?
Well, it's to celebrate those who exceeded and point out the outlying performance.
Yes, that's right. It's also
says what's possible, because like what we do is, hey, Dr. Alfredo was scheduled for 1,400. His goal was 5. He actually completed 5,800.
That's it.
To which people oftentimes say, "What did you do?" Hey, I couldn't have done it without Danny and Joanne. And by the way, they stayed late at 5 o'clock, and I did that crown, and that's how I hit it.
That's exactly it. And then also to acknowledge if there's a shortcoming in the day, then potentially rally around me, right? I'm going to need some help in here to maybe try to hit goal. Okay. So step 2, review the schedule. And what I mean review the schedule is not read the schedule. You want to quickly look at who is there. So every provider will then go around and say, Miss Jones, she's got a balance due. She's got this allergy, things to look out for, right? But it's not, I'm doing a scaling and route planning. I'm doing an MOD on number 14. And you're looking in this place for when you review the schedule for same day opportunities, right? Is there a gap that we could potentially accommodate a same day opportunity? And because the business team is in that huddle, they can make a note. Cool. I need to fill this schedule. If someone calls in, I can make an opportunity and help same day opportunities. Or the doctor hears this and says, "Hey, I can then I know I have Karen Smith over here at 2 o'clock. I see that you have an opening at 3. When I'm done with this, why don't I have the conversation and just slide her over because she's overdue for a cleaning anyway." Things like this, right? Okay. You then want to move to reviewing the numbers. Okay, you want to talk about your month-to-date production or collections, I should say, month-to-date new patients, and how far away you are from goal. So that's the James conversation, Craig, that James is obviously in charge of that in your practice, where he was saying, hey, we are this far out from X, right? New patients
what we're doing now? We're using, that Smurl thing that shows the number of Instagram followers?
Yeah.
He got one for our monthly production. So he plugs it in every morning. It's like,
oh, that's cool.
So it shows our monthly production. So if you go back there right now, you'll see that number. And then the thermometers next to it show what bonus we're trending at. So it's live updated every day.
That's really cool. Yeah. So the Smurl, in case you guys don't know, is something that God I had forever ago with just the patient and with just the Instagram.
I got it from you. That's
Yeah,
where I got it. But I didn't realize you could buy one that's just
I
an
didn't either.
agnostic Smurl that you could just. So it's our production counter. It's
so obviously you have that in your meeting space. That's not patient facing. But how engaging is that potentially if you're eating lunch and all of a sudden now you see that change all of a sudden, right? It's like, okay, everyone's making I love that actually. I'm gonna look into that.
I'll send a video of it to you. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So reviewing numbers, like I said, how far are you away from goal? And then oftentimes, team members are bonus for the tiers, right? So this is an important tool to keep everyone motivated for the day. Remind them that like, hey, just a few little tweaks here, like the James verbiage, a few little tweaks here, we can go from tier 1 to tier 2, right? Anything to add on that, Craig?
No, I'm going to have some global feedback because I have it slightly different, but know, it's just the order, but it's the same huddle, just a different order.
Step 4 is just some general housekeeping stuff, like, right, make sure, hey, yesterday we left a bunch of computers on, or be sure to, when you take the last, composite from the stocking place, you're making sure you're reordering, just update on internal processes really quick. That's not like a Debbie, like a womp. It's just a great time to talk as a group. And then lastly, you're going to end on high energy, quick acknowledgments, right? Like someone who maybe have stayed late and yesterday I did this and this person helped me, but it's just some quick acknowledgments just to end the day on a very positive note. Social acknowledgments. And we know that's, for some people, Craig, that is, I think you're one of those people. That is the oxygen, right? Being acknowledged socially and being doted on in a social environment. Sometimes that is what drives people. Not everyone's driven by money and tears and stuff like that. Sometimes they're driven by social acknowledgement.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, you came up with this. We were both doing the same type of huddle. The only difference is just slightly the order. We start with acknowledgement.
Okay.
So a different team member has to do the huddle every day. So there's a huddle list that we all have to do it. And the goal is to start with an inspirational quote or a video, and we have a big projector, and then it's kudos. And I just remember the first couple, times, maybe first couple months or a year that we used to do kudos. I used to get so cranky because I'm like, no one did anything yesterday. No one could find any reason to acknowledge anyone. And of course, that made everybody feel terrible.
Shut down even more.
Shut it down even more. So, but now the kudos just goes on forever.
Well, Craig, I think you're bringing up something point. It's in many instances in Bulletproof, and we learned that this weekend. It's not, hey, here is our cookie cutter thing. This is the religion. Do exactly what we say. We have as Dwight said, we have this diversity of opinion, diversity of thought. We all come from a different place. And so the spirit isn't so much do this. Here's the template. Follow this in the 1 through 5 order. The spirit is don't read the schedule. Curate what works for you. If you want to play music in the beginning and do acknowledgments, whatever, but make it that 15 minutes count, whatever that means for your team. Looking at balances, same day opportunity, how far away from goal, how can we support you today in your daily provider goal? That is the emphasis. It is not let's waste time going over shit that we can all read on the schedule. Number 15, MOD, I can see that clear as day. I do not need someone else to articulate that for me, right? That's it.
Of course.
So I agree with you. I think like many things in our practices, Craig, individually, I think what we found when we've met each other is that they were not carbon copies of each other, but they were 90% directionally correct. Meaning Spodak Dental Group, before I knew Spodak Dental Group and before you knew ADS, we were doing things generally the same, right?
Yep. No, I agree.
So that is it. That is it for this pithy pod. What are we at? 24 minutes. It's been a long time.
Word. A 24-minute pod. That's amazing.
It's but sometimes small content's easier to digest. I don't know about you, but I am a big consumer of YouTube.
So let's put that in the title. Shortest pod ever.
No, it's not the shortest pod ever. And we're not, and maybe we're not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, currently,
I got something.
There's a press conference going on, right? What he said?
Yeah, just what he said.
There's a press conference going on right now about David Sachs is doing a sovereign wealth fund announcement, a U.S. sovereign wealth fund. So I'm interested to hear what that is. But
I always liked the way the Saudi sovereign wealth fund sounded. But you know what I like better?
What?
The U.S. sovereign wealth fund.
Right?
I think that even sounds better.
Never had one. Never had one.
But that sounds like, you ever hear like this is a Saudi sovereign wealth investment?
So I posted something, because I like to talk about macroeconomics and things like that because they definitely affect dentistry. I know this is a dental podcast, but we don't live in an isolated bubble because the macroeconomy typically affects what am I trying to say? Typically affects the dental practice. How well you feel your dental practice doing is really a byproduct of how the general economy is doing. Agreed?
Yeah, 100%.
So people, are worried. I posted something in the Mighty Networks about tariffs and, no one really understands them and what potentially this could mean. And you just told me before we hit record that you liked kind of what I was posting.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
As I geared it. Do you want to talk about kind of what that means?
Yeah, well, I'd like to unpack it because what people don't realize is that in business and running our country, well, let me bring up an example, right? So, I can't use this example because I was about to use my banker, but he listens to this.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I can't. So listen. So what I'm trying to say is, if you just in business, you have to ask for a concession. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're evil. But
what do you mean ask for a concession?
Meaning like negotiate.
Okay.
Use your leverage.
Yeah.
There's been situations where I'm talking to a dental supplier and I say something like, do you realize our account is blank? You have to do better. And immediately it's like, yeah, we'll drop $1,000 off your order. Like, that's business. So now we have people, many people that, some are elected, some are otherwise unelected. They are business people. And they're going to use leverage and scale against us. It's exactly what the DSOs do. DSOs get leverage. They get all of the things that you and I buy for much less because they have hard conversations like, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. And they're like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Clear aligner company, don't do that. Please don't do that.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
We're going to hold your fire. We'll make it work. And they get ahead. So now we are using our government like a business. And if our U.S. government is a business, we are running an insolvent, decrepit business that's going to really hurt future generations and our children. Our national debt is out of control. So this is, I am not scared of what's happening, but there's so much confusion. And I just want you to unpack it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're nailing it, right? I think we were on a path towards just insolvency. As if we look at the U.S. as a company, it's insolvency. And one of every $4 in existence today was printed in the last 4 years. Okay,
right.
So America's pretty old company,
yeah,
country, right? A little Freudian slip. But it's
it does have to function like a business, though.
Our deficit is incredible. And if you don't know what the deficit is, it's basically like the government, the only income source they have is tax dollars, right? So the tax base is around $5 trillion. They're spending about $7 trillion a year. And so roughly we have a $2 trillion deficit, or we did before the Doge, right? And so Elon's claiming that he's already saved $1 trillion, right? We won't know.
$2 billion per day.
We won't know until it's forecasted out, but that's where the pork and the conversations of pork. So tariffs are, so here's where the market freaked out the other day, right? With the tariffs and Trump saying Canada and Mexico and China to a lesser extent, China was at 10%, is basically getting to, the strategy is almost kind of weakening the US dollar a little bit because the dollar is the world reserve currency.
Right.
Okay. So so the dollar is a little bit overvalued. And so Trump desperately wants to get others to pay more taxes. Essentially, a tariff is a tax on imports. And he wants to desperately drive down interest rates.
Right.
So we all remember when interest rates were low, what happens to the value of asset prices?
They go up.
They go way higher. So Trump's love, he's pumping his own bags, as we say in crypto. His love is real estate. He's got a tremendous amount of real estate. And so cap rates, and we talk about this stuff at Summit and Mastermind, But cap rates, right, is the yield you get from the investment that you, so the real estate that you own. And the lower the interest rate, right, the lower the cap rate means that your building went from being worth $3 million when interest rates were at 7%, for example, to being worth $4.5 million when interest rates are at 4%, because the cost of capital, right? All you have to do is beat that yield. I don't know I'm painting broad brushstrokes, but it is a time where I think we're going to see inflation again, right? We kind of squashed it for COVID, and they kind of rectified it. But I think we're going to go back into a risk-on situation, meaning that the risk-on assets are going to go through the roof.
Okay, I don't understand that term. You said that before, but meaning what? You're saying that
people are going to take risk on real estate,
right?
And stocks,
because the
and bonds,
risk-free
and
rate of
equity, and
return
dental
is so high.
practices.
Yes.
Dental practice. I actually had a conversation just yesterday, and they said, that the brakes have been on dentistry for a long while in terms of the appetite for acquisition and deal flow, because we just wanted to see, it was an administration, employment stuff was one. So it's always been this, like, what's the environment going to look like? And because our industry and the acquisition of our industry is so predicated on interest rates, it's been in a cooling phase. So I had a conversation, like I said, just yesterday, where he's like, you're about to see, maybe not like it was so hot in 2021, like post-COVID, when interest rates were super low and it was this pent-up energy, but there's about to be this resurgence back into the space. So, I posted something on Mighty Networks, like, how do you, I think that this is good conversations. Like, how do you prepare? Because I think in almost every environment, Craig, meaning in down economies and up economies and bull markets and dovish and all these terms that are thrown, I think when you are prepared, you can do well in every environment, right? You can insulate yourself or prosper. But you got to kind of be aware. You got to kind of have your ear to the ground of what's going on, as opposed to
and just to reiterate what you just said, Pete, you can do well in down markets.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you can do well in any market.
People think like, oh, it's September. It's, the dental practices are going down. That's not true. You can do well in any market. You just have to know what the winds are going to do. The forecasted winds.
Yep. So, unfortunately the market responds, right? And then that motion, you saw it in the private equity markets. I'm sorry, you saw it in the stock market, then you see it in Bitcoin, because there's a correlation. People panic. When people see a few people panic, more people panic. When more people panic, kind of thing. Like, so it's this like onslaught of panics. And so you saw that destruction when he announced it the other day. But now it's going to be interesting. And I think we're going to be in a prosperous, I guess the nuts of what I'm trying to say is be prepared for rising costs, but also be prepared for a lot of prosperity in the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think it's reallocating costs though, because there's so many costs that are our biggest expense for all of us. Every person listening to this podcast, it's not your housing, your avocados, your food, your education. It's taxes. Taxes are the largest burden that every U.S. earner faces.
Yep.
If you're
the biggest expense in your life, Craig?
It's the biggest expense of your life,
and something we know so little about.
Right. Well, there's no transparency. I saw Zelensky. This is true, by the way. Zelensky had a speech just 48 hours ago where he said, we've only received approximately 70 or 80. I don't remember the number. It wasn't more than 80. Let's call it 80 billion of the 177 billion. How many times have you heard that the Pentagon's failed an audit again, or we lost this money? It's like this is the fiduciary responsibility of the country. So if, and I love what they're saying about like internal revenue service, and someone said like, we're going to create an external revenue service.
That's tariffs.
So if there are
tariffs.
Yes. And that's what George Washington did in his first term. He put tariffs on goods coming from other countries, because you're either going to pay 25% more for your avocados, or you're going to spend 35% on your taxes.
I'm not sure it was George Washington, but there was a point in our history, Craig, where that was it.
No, the IRS is new, by the way.
And there was 1913.
Yeah.
And there was such a period where there was so much money coming into the country. There's so much of a surplus. They had to form a council. What do we do with all this money that we've gotten from these tariffs?
Yeah, the Tariff Act of 1789.
Okay.
That was President Washington signed the Tariff Act of
Okay.
1789.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The law placed for the first time ever, he's the first president, a 5% tax on all imports. All of them. That was George Washington's first 100 days from Mount Vernon.
So anyway, it's a good, I think
don't be alarmed. And by the way, Peter and I are not that smart. We just consume other smart people and give it to you. So this is not just Peter and I.
We just regurgitate other smart people stuff. Yeah. We are your megaphone to try and translate into the dental world.
Yes.
All right, buddy.
Deciphering information.
That's a good one. Any updates? Anything in closing? We want to kind of wrap. We'll wrap this one at around 35 minutes, and so not the shortest one ever. But sorry.
No, I just think I'm excited. I feel I'm really optimistic about what's happening for our country, and when we have tailwinds such as this that are coming, it's going to fan the flames of our businesses. So I'm very bullish. If you are getting your butt kicked and you're upset with life, don't make an emotional decision right now. Let the winds of change start blowing, and maybe they'll find at your back, and you'll be in a better position.
Yeah.
So
as long
I'm
as
excited.
You have a bias towards action.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing everybody has. Just stay hungry and stay in action for sure.
All right, everybody. Don't forget, check out the Bulletproof Summit if you're just listening to this pod for the first time. I know we talk about it every time, but it's going to be a banger. That's for sure. BulletproofSummit.com. All right, everyone.
8th and 9th at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. Rooms are selling out. Get your ticket today.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
See you, buddy. Good stuff.